There are moments in life that inflict certain emotions. Happiness when hanging out with friends, laughing at silly jokes together. Excitement as the clock counts down to midnight on New Year's Eve, eager for a new year. And sadness when a loved one passes. Now imagine if you can, all that is gone, and you feel nothing. No joy, no disappointment, no empathy. That is the life a psychopath lives.
So what are psychopaths? Psychopaths are people who don't feel emotions. They can't distinguish between right and wrong. They don't react in a way to things that may cause the same person to be happy, sad, or angry. They lack empathy and remorse. They don't regret. They are completely impervious to emotion. Psychopathy is different from other mental illnesses, for it doesn't express the manias and hysterias others do. A psychopath doesn't hear voices, aren't confused or anything like that. They are smart people, usually better than average intelligence, and don't always lack social ability. They simply blend in the crowd.
Psychopaths often display a charming demeanor. It's their charm that fools those that are oblivious to his true intentions. They are master deceivers, pathological liars, and think quite highly of themselves. They possess a focus that most can't fathom. Fears don't exist. The future is not on their mind. They can be very ruthless, for they don't care about the pain they'll inflict.
Psychopaths have been around since before biblical times. They exist in every culture, though they are more researched in Western civilizations. The term Kungluketa is what the Yupik Eskimos used to label a man who constantly lies, cheats, steals, and takes sexual advantage of women. If one of these men were amongst the village, they would accidentally push him off the ice. The condition of psychopathy was first described in 1801 by a French surgeon named Philippe Pinel, who used the phrase mania without delirium. Later American surgeon Benjamin Rush wrote about those with characteristics of neither delusional nor psychotic, but nevertheless engaged in profoundly antisocial behavior, including violence, and that they emerged early in life. It wasn't until the 1880s that psychopath, a German word meaning suffering soul, became the clinical term. Then in the late 1930s, American psychiatrist Irving Quickly started investigating a certain type of patient at Augusta, Georgia's psychiatric hospital. He discovered that they came from all different kinds of backgrounds, very rich to very poor. He then established 16 traits demonstrated by these patients: charming, intelligent, unreliable, dishonest, irresponsible, self-centered, emotionally shallow, lacking in empathy and insight, among other things.
So what causes psychopathy? It's a very odd condition. It is difficult to detect the actual complication or defect in the brain that seems to shut off the ability to empathize and feel emotions. With the help of an MRI, magnetic resonance imaging machine, the cause is becoming a little bit clearer. Scientists have detected reduced activity in the part of the brain called the amygdala, the emotion center. Dr. Ken Keel proposes there's a defect in the paralimbic system, a network of brain regions from the orbital frontal cortex to the posterior cingulate cortex that are involved in processing emotion, inhibition, and attentional control. Even though the true cause is difficult to determine, it's definitely a biological defect. There is no doubt that a psychopath's condition is influenced by their past. Someone from a neglectful family is far more prone to show more distinct characteristics of psychopathy than one from a loving family.
Edward Dean was born on a farm in Wisconsin. His father was an alcoholic and died when he was young. His mother was super religious and taught him about immorality and the evils of women and sex, and that she would be the only one to love him. So when she died, he was a 39-year-old lonely man. Therefore, he became detached from society. He became interested in the female anatomy because he desired to be a woman. He would dig up the corpses of women and conduct experiments on them, including his mother, and would eat their organs. He used the skin to make a woman bodysuit that he would wear. He would often kill women the same age as his mother. He would cut their skin and wear it, pretending he was his mom. Police found in his shed a head hanging from the ceiling, a heart in a saucepan, organs in a box, a chair covered in human skin, and lampshades made of skin. He died at a mental health institute in 1987. He inspired many movies like Psycho, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Silence of the Lambs. Ted Bundy, born in Vermont, was isolated from his family and was bullied as a child. He did well in school and attended college. He became an honor student in psychology and later became a political campaigner. He fell in love with a girl who did not feel as strongly towards him, and she broke up with him abruptly, leaving him devastated. Most of his victims were picked because of the resemblance to her. He raped and killed women in Washington, Oregon, Colorado, Utah, and Florida. He became successful and got married. He re-met the girl from college, and they got to the point where she thought they would get married, without his wife or her knowing about each other. He then broke up abruptly with her like she did before. His revenge did not bring him comfort, so he continued killing until he was caught and sentenced to death and was executed in Florida's electric chair in 1989.
John Wayne Gacy was born in Chicago. His father was a violent alcoholic. They never had a good relationship with each other. Gacy was a member of many organizations that helped the community and would dress up as a clown and entertain kids in hospitals. Everything seemed well until people heard that he was making sexual advancements with employees at his work. He hired a man to beat up one of these employees and because of this was put in jail for 18 months. He was released and continued to sexually assault young men while still dressing up as a clown, calling himself Pogo the Clown, and acted as a good neighbor. He got married and had 2 children. He would lure young men into his house, telling them he would show them one of his magic clown tricks. He would cuff them with what they thought were fake handcuffs. Then he would drug them, strip them, gag them, torture them, and then rape them till they died. He would put all the bodies into the crawl space under his house, and when people would ask about the smell, he would tell them there was just moisture buildup. When he couldn't put any more down there, he would throw them into the Des Plaines River. However, a member of the Des Plaines Police Department who specialized in photography and fingerprint analysis investigated further into this and discovered the murders Gacy had committed. Later, Gacy was put to death by lethal injection in 1994.
Tests can be done to detect a true psychopath. This is called the Psychopathy Checklist, or PCLR, created by Canadian psychologist Robert Hare. There are 20 items that are questioned. Psychologists interview a person about parasitic lifestyles, pathological lying, conning, proneness to boredom, shallow emotions, lack of empathy, poor impulse control, promiscuity, irresponsibility, record of juvenile delinquency, and criminal versatility, among other things. They are then scored a 0, 1, or 2, depending on how distinct the trait is. If the score is above 30, that person would be considered a psychopath. But of course, not every test is 100% reliable. Some clever ones may figure out how to pass it, free of any trace of insanity. There is another test, usually presented to inmates of prison. It's a 2-part test involving the MRI machine, a word-based and picture-based test. First, the inmate would be shown phrases, some obviously morally offensive, like having sex with your mother, some ambiguous, like abortion, and some more morally neutral, like listening to others. They then rate it using a push-button device depending on how offensive it is. The system is able to detect the speed in which the inmate makes their decision, plus what part of the brain was active when the decision was made. The picture-based test is very similar, but of course with pictures. There is an iris scanner within the machine that detects exactly what one was looking at when they made their decision.
Is there a cure for psychopathy for those who suffer from it, who then cause others suffering? First of all, the cause of the actual condition is not yet found. A drug would be difficult to create when the targeted area is unknown. Psychopathy is thought to be incurable. A talking therapy developed to treat the condition fails, for it only lets psychopaths practice their manipulation, ultimately making the condition worse. Also, there are no valid instruments that can measure emotion and personality. Plus, the only thing researchers have to build upon is the criminal records of those who have been imprisoned. Yet there exist far more psychopaths outside of prison than what there is today.